Today, I'm talking to an indie hacker who really gets to build a business in a field you know a lot about, paradigm. I'm chatting with Andrew Hodson, who is building software businesses in the automotive and logistics industries. He's the founder behind Buddies and WrenchRadar, both of which are marketplaces, and that is the hardest kind of software business to build. But Andrew is doing pretty well with those. We'll dive into dealing with incumbents and competitors and getting your customers' trust when handling livestock or their cars. We'll dig into Facebook community building and what Andrew's larger vision for his indie founder life might be. This episode is sponsored by Acquire.com. More on that later. Now, let's jump into a conversation between two self-taught software founders. Here is Andrew. Andrew, thanks so much for being on the show. Your journey is quite an interesting one, and you went all the way from auto mechanic to a software as a service entrepreneur. That's pretty awesome. I've been watching that happen on Twitter, where you've been building your businesses, I guess, at this point in public, and I've loved every minute of this. So let's start in the beginning here. What makes an auto mechanic, or I think you call yourself an audio tech, right? In your Twitter bio, that's what you say. What makes a person like that look into learning how to code? How did that start?
Right. So, my automotive background comes from like my family. My father's ASE master, my brother. Everybody seems to work on cars in my family. But so that kind of path just came through osmosis, really. Being around my dad and that kind of stuff is kind of like the natural step. The coding and the computer side of stuff was more along the lines of, in high school they gave us a computer, right? And that pull on the thread mentality I have leads me to where I'm at. I mean, it's a long journey, right? But basically that would be the two. And I never fell out of love with the ability to bend computers, electronics to your will, right? Throughout life, the auto mechanic was the natural progression just because that was my environment. But yeah, so there are two distinct paths. Definitely a lot of intersection, definitely a lot of cool things I can bring from automotive and way of thinking about things and vice versa. But yeah.
That is interesting. I would like to know more about this because it feels both are kind of engineering, but definitely in different realms. Like what kind of similarities have you found there between these two?
Yeah. So especially like the diagnostics type of work.
Right.
Well, even in like what I call bolt terrain work, which is just like, remove or replace. You have a set of guidelines generally, or specs or something that you're going to go buy or some kind of so it's like reading documentation, right? Like as long as you spend the time understanding what the documentation says, generally you can come to the right answer of figuring it out, right? And then with diagnostics, it comes down to breaking things down into smaller problems, making sure what system is involved in this, what's tied into where. A lot of those, especially when you go into like older apps where you're just trying to find all the webs and stuff. That kind of what do they call it? It's a chain. I won't miss the word, but thought process of just working down the chain definitely crosses over, and a little bit even on the service writing side, where how to interact with customers. I tell you where it deviates horribly, which is and one thing I really have it's hard to deal with is so like labor ops, right? So like I can go to a book and it tells me it's 2 hours to put pads and rotors on a car, and now I dictate what that labor rate is, but I still know I'm billing 2 hours, right? And that's the way they should do it. If anybody's not, don't go to them. And tech, that's almost out the window, right? I mean, a button could take 20 minutes on one website and it can take 3 hours on another website. So, just some back and forth there. But yeah, it a lot of crossovers again when you're actually working on cars, but then there are some differences that they'll bite you.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that like debugging, like this analysis part is very similar, but when it comes to actually implementation, it's not as standardized, right? Because you're effectively making things up in coding, and then the other thing is and I mean this in the best sense of the word, an implementation of an existing process. That's what I
exactly. Yeah, no, you're exactly right. Yeah.
Have you tried to carry some of this kind of process-oriented thinking into running your own software as a service business?
So I take a lot of the customer service side of it, which is especially in that type of work and in the competition and stuff. It's just, I don't like saying the customer's always right, but in the sense of you go out of your way, and then as far as like, I've always been a logical person. It's probably what makes me halfway decent with computers is figuring out what the business model is and how do you craft, a code setup that models that, and then probably killing all these terminologies, but regardless, yeah, I mean, just the compartmentalization of stuff. How can you put each step in, and then you make each step efficient, and then how does that work as a whole? And it I think that goes across any industry really. But yeah, for sure.
So it's just professional. It's a professional approach to doing stuff.
Yeah, I think it's more. It's just I have a system of where I have I kind of throw all my we'll call them issues, priorities, whatever is currently on my mind. It's probably a horrible way, but and then you had a wall, and then there's different have priority statuses, right? So ROI and all those good funny words, but how do those systems interact with each other, right? So if I knock this one off, how do I do that? And if I do this and that, and so again, I don't know what you want to call it, but super logical, super I like it. Someone else could step in, take a look at what I'm doing and understand it and not have to go through like this whole like onboarding process, right? So that's kind of how I like to simplify everything. So with Hauling Buddies, for example, Brandy helped me out and I've set everything up in a way where like I can step away from anything I'm working on and she can just step in, right? Like I don't have to do this whole download and upload of information, because that's just inefficient, right? And then, so yeah, I mean, I guess some of that kind of stuff, definitely back and forth, like I said.
That sounds like you're really equipping yourself and everybody else around you well to deal with the operations in a business that removes you from and being necessitated in the business, right?
Absolutely.
When we talk about making things sellable, that's the part that's interesting, right? Removing yourself. Is that something, and I know this is a pretty hard jump from you just starting to code to now thinking about selling a business, but that's the zero and the sold, like those two things. But is that something that you're actively contemplating as you're building businesses to eventually sell them?
Well, yeah, right. So let's back up. So when I jump into different ideas and projects, I could probably tell you the initial spark is never about money, right? Whether it's learning a new technology, whether it's a passion project, whether it's whatever, the nexus or the spark or whatever you want to call it that starts is not monetary. What kicks in second is, oh man, I got to pay my bills this month. How can I monetize this, right? That's probably not the best way to go about it. I'm not saying it is. But I tend to do better in an environment where I need to do better. I have to do better, right? So, yeah. So eventually, so no, I'll say it's too, it depends, right? So generally, it's just a spark. But yeah, normally my next thought is, how would I market this, right? So then I have to answer that question myself anyway, right? Is this even something that is marketable or doesn't have a lot of competition? You go through that whole checklist, but then or what's unique about it, right? We've had those talks in the past, and if I can pass that step and I've learned what I want to learn, or I've done whatever, I've checked it off my personal box. Yeah, eventually my next steps generally at this point is, what's the plan? Exit, invest, whatever the case may be, whatever. But in the beginning, no, but lately, yes.
Okay. It makes perfect sense. Like you have shifting priorities in your life. Like obviously that's going to impact how you think about your business and why the business and to what end the business exists. Let's backtrack a little bit. I think Hauling Buddies is a great example because from what I see, that's your first big thing. Right?
Yeah.
That's how this feels to me. And I've been loving the journey of this, like looking into it from both behind the scenes and from on Twitter and the public sphere. So you just described that you go through all these steps, looking at a market, looking at a potential product, a potential business. Can you just indulge me in what you did for Hauling Buddies, like how that came about? And maybe also explain a little bit what it actually is.
Yeah,
I think
for sure. Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
That'd be good.
For the audience that don't know. Yeah, so Hauling Buddies is an online, we'll call it, I don't like to use the word marketplace so much anymore. We'll call it a directory of verified animal transport companies. There's a big deal with, I guess, anything nowadays of scams and just bad actors online taking advantage of a good situation. In this case, it was social media, communities, whether it be Facebook or majority Facebook, but anyone really. So we'll backtrack a little bit. When 2020 COVID happened, I was working on cars. I wanted to do something different. when you sit down, your initial, again, whether it's like, what do I want to work on? What do I want to do? The natural thing was like a shop, right? Management system. And then my mom had some Facebook groups for horse transports. She owned a medical transport company. And when she was getting that company started, she would do horse transports on the weekends and help people out to get to different trails and so on and so forth. And she started a group not knowing it was going to be anything. It was just a thing. And years later, it kind of blew up as this now. We're looking, she asked me for some help because it got pretty big, and she's not really a tech person. So again, I always saw it there. We always, played with it and nurtured it. It's great having all this insight and ability to reach out and talk to people that are, doing this kind of thing. And so again, I'm looking at these two different projects, what's going on. Automotive, I'm in automotive, but trying to walk into a brick and mortar automotive shop and be like, hey, let's upend your entire way of doing everything you've done for the last 40 years on a whim. It was one of those, how do I get past the marketing side of this, right? And with Hauling Buddies, I looked at, here's this untapped resource of just, and not even at the monetary level, but like the information level, right? And how do you monetize that, right? And that led into basically Hauling Buddies started off as just a mirror of what happened in the groups. I just had more control over it, and I can say who was allowed on it and not allowed on it. Since then, again, it's the last little while it kind of fell off a little bit. Now, it's still running. We just verified our 300. These are fully verified companies. They send in their ID, proof of insurance, all their contact information has to stay updated, so I know exactly who they are, and we also have a review system. So as people come in, we make sure we try to weed out the bad actors. It's just still doing its thing. I have big plans. I kind of went off the AI rail a little bit. I think everybody did, kind of. And I have some really cool ideas. I've been playing with some like vector databases and AI completions and a bunch of cool embedding stuff. And I think I've come up with a way that allows me to use the Hauling Buddies information I already have and build almost like a virtual assistant based off of, like, I already have all your company to train these models off of what your company does, right? And pricing and all this kind of stuff. So I own hauling.io. So I think that'd be a cool place for that. So there's some plans there. I need to, it's one of those things that's working. And it's cool because it's working without me in the groups as much as late. And it's one of those, like, you ever get one of those spots where it's like, man, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. Not so much like because you don't like it or you don't love it, but it's just like, is this the right one, right? Is this the one that's going to take me to the finish line, or am I do I need to put more attention over here? And then Hauling Buddies is just that one project that no matter what, I just can't seem to put it down and go, hey, there's always that, email that reaches out to you like, hey man, this is great. I'm happy you're doing this. This is what is needed, and so on and so forth. So long-winded answer, but yeah, for sure.
I like any length of answer because it just shows like how much you think about it, right? Like how much is present in your brain. And I love that you already have more ideas. And I know you have a couple more things on the table that you're already doing. And we'll get to that. But I want to stick with Hauling Buddies for a bit because I think there's a lot to learn from this whole Facebook group thing that you've been doing. I think you're the first founder that I've ever talked to that had such a grasp on understanding Facebook groups and the kind of dynamics in them, how to leverage them, and how to get people to help you with that. Yeah. I think that is something that I would really like to drill into a little bit more, because it didn't stop with just one Facebook group, right?
Right. No. Yeah. So Hauling Buddies originally started as just equine, just horses. And we had the horse hauling group, and then one of those splintered off was like East Coast, because everybody, I knew it was on the East Coast. And they grew. And like I said, I think the horse hauling one now is almost like 30,000, 40,000. And it's a decent sized group, so bigger. And then, as I'm building this out right now, we're going from, hey, this is a cool thing, to like, okay, this needs to be like, what is this, right? And equine, to me, as an animal marketplace directory, you already niched it fairly down. Yeah. So like, I felt doing like just equine was just too much. Not enough TM. And so I was like, yeah, there was already livestock groups, small animal groups. There's already existed. It seemed like a natural progression. So I went in there, started joining those groups. And again, I think what a lot of people do wrong is, they join all these groups or these different communities, and they just start, and I understand as a founder, they feel like they're providing value, right? And that their product's going to save your company and all that. And I stand behind it. I understand it 100% from marketing, right? Especially, I've been that guy. I totally got it. And, but the other side of that shoe is you seem pushy, right? You're new to this community. You haven't built any value. And I get the whole saying, like, work for free. Like, I'm not co-signing that, but like, there is some value to be gained out of being that natural support person, that person that comes to you not expecting, string attached. And then after I built those relationships, it's a simple progression. They're like, oh, by the way, I also have this cool thing over here. Well, you got some time, to take care of it, or take a look at it. And it just you get a lot more ROI out of the community doing it like that than you do, paying $600, $1,000, $2,000 to join a group and start posting an ad on your thing. And then they have their place, but again. Yeah, then see these other groups, getting involved with them. A couple of them I actually took over. The people just retired or didn't want to deal with it, because it is a process. I mean, it's running a community is not an easy thing. Especially because it seems like I guess this is true with anything, but like the good things go unnoticed. It's only the bad things that get magnified, right? So like, especially in a community sense, right? So like. But and taking those over, and again, once I think we have 10 of them. I unified them, right? So like they all got the same theme color, they all got the same set of rules, they all got on the website, Home Buddies. You can go to the communities link, it'll show you all the Facebook groups. Tried to build that into like an identity. But yeah, I think it's a great. Just like anything, right? Like there's a negative to it. But I personally believe if you can harness and understand, and it's going to be different with the horse hauling thing or the animal hauling thing, it's simple enough. Craigslist, this could have been done on Craigslist, right? This could have been done on any posting service type deal. And what I was benefiting on is the fact that Facebook can't police their own communities good enough, right? And this is why like everybody's doing verified now, right? Facebook verified, Twitter verified, everybody's verified now. But I definitely think if you have a product like that, especially in the sense of like community building and stuff, there's so many people out here looking for an environment that's more, I don't want to say police, because that gives it like a bad, it's not what I'm talking about, but more of a holistic platform. I think you'd do well.
Yeah, it sounds like the people are looking for trust, right? For like a baseline of trust. And I think you give that to them by police. And I think policing, of course, like recent events and the political, just saturation of the word. But in a way, a policy is just like a rule book, right? Like communities with rules. And what I really enjoy is the fact that you manually went in there and you just gave people the opportunity, the people that were retiring or people who wanted to not do this anymore, to keep the community going. That is an important part too, right? Because there is value in the community. Do you still actively manage those communities?
Yeah, so not as much as I do, but the cool thing about this is and within an industry, you have your top level players, and they have a reputation they want to keep, and everybody's looking for the next shortcut, we'll call it. And so you can use that want to get free work. That's so bad to put, but these companies, they want the same thing you want, right? Like, so they want a nice, clean, safe community, right? With real people, do a real business. They're fine with competing with the same people that's paying the same taxes and the same insurance and the same, what they don't want to compete with is, the guy doing it on the weekend, right? And I totally get that. So when I stepped in and I was the bad guy, because I was for a while, saying that we're knocking this off, we're gonna have the real people doing this. Too many people are getting scammed. There's too much. I was getting messages daily about people. Oh, I lost $300. I lost $1,200. Yeah. That after the dust settled, that's when you start getting the emails of like, hey, that was a good idea, or I'm glad you cleaned it up. But those same people are also, they're the ones that are now enforcing the rules. But in reality, all it took was someone standing up with big enough shoulders. They'd be like, no, this is what we're going to do. And some of you're not going to like it. And I understand that. And there's also another side of this, which is I've never, when I decided everybody's going to be verified in the groups, I made the verification process free, right? And I don't remove people from the groups because they badmouth hauling buddies. I don't, there's a respect level for admins and moderators, but I have always kept the community free and open to anybody that wants to follow the rules, period.
Okay.
Right? There's like, even people that don't want to be on hauling buddies, that's fine. When you get verified through the system, you can check a little box that says, you don't want to be listed and all that kind of stuff. I'm totally for that, and I'm totally with it. But there's rules in place. We're going to follow these rules. And then again, a lot of people, and the people that help me today are those companies that wanted that, but they didn't have the ability or the time, right? Because they're working too, right? They're doing their own, like they don't have the time to sit here and do this. Are grateful today that Hauling Buddies is stepped up and taken that role. And you're always going to have your people that, just aren't with it. You're always going to have the ones that, I can't even begin to tell you the stuff that I've got in my message from people, and I got it. It's fine. That kind of stuff just rolls off my shoulders. But now not so much. We have companies that are in the industry that they pretty much moderate their own thing. We have I guess you'll call it internal policy guideline that how we can escalate stuff to me if need be, if it's within a certain, like, basically, if you don't feel 100% confident with your decision, whatever that may be, because I'm going to back you up. I'm a full believer in I'll back my employee up until I can't, and it then bring it to me, right? Nothing's too small. If the gut instinct doesn't match, we'll talk about it. I'm probably going to say we're cool, but so I tried to delegate that the social media manager type stuff away. But I still go in there. So I got the AI stuff with Dolly. I just generated a bunch of Halloween, which was awesome, type stuff. And then while I was there, I did New Year's in December and all that stuff too. But not so much anymore. I would like to stick to the more business and technical side of things nowadays. Only because I'm spreading myself thin, prioritizing, I guess.
That sounds like a very typical founder problem, right? You want to be everywhere, but there are certain places where you, with your overlap of skills and areas, and in your case, very technical and very in the industry, yourself being in both places at once, it's better, I guess, for you to build stuff, right, than to just hang out and post fun dolly pictures all the time, which is probably also a lot of fun. But I was wondering about this because I think like Hauling Buddies is an example of a complicated business to me. It's a two-sided, if not even like three-sided marketplace. It's probably a lot of technical challenges in there, and there's the emotional challenge too. We talked about this in the past, just you and me behind the scenes, I guess, but I would like to bring this out too. Like people who have their prized animal companions transported like over long distances, they are quite attached, right, to the animal. How do you deal with this in a SaaS business? Because SaaS business to me is like, somebody signs up, they integrate like a widget somewhere or whatever, and then the problem is, the server is down, whatever. But here, like actual live beings are being hauled, hopefully buddies, are being hauled by other buddies. So how do you deal with the emotional, the levels there that people might express?
So right, 100%, right? Especially when you start getting some of the dollar figures of these animals is insane. Even dogs go thousands of dollars. So cats as well, any animal really. Right. So first, obviously, copy marketing. What is brand identity was a big thing for me in the beginning. Association, who we're trying to associate with, those kind of things was you have to be. I'm always on my toes when reviews come in, or so brand identity is the big thing, right? And I'm always, that's constantly a juggle between efficiency and loyalty and growth metrics and so on and so forth. So the other side of that is proper messaging, and then also, so a lot of the work has been done for me in the sense of the marketplace has become so saturated with scams and things that people are just looking, they don't want to spend, first of all, right, time's money, right? They don't want to spend all this time going through all these Facebook groups and different postages and messaging people back and forth. Like that's just, the friction there is enormous, right, in itself. So I saw that, and then the other side of that is so that's the problem and solution. The marketing part of that is the verify, trust, and right. So I combat the how do I trust this person with company profiles, company reviews, a lot of messaging about how we verify companies, what that means. We do a lot of blog articles with like how to read, like not just like, hey, trust us, but here's how you read industry standards.
Yeah.
And here's what a DOT number is for and why they should have it. And here's what, an MC is for insurance and what it means liability. And then like, and with small animals, you have the USDA Class T, which is, again, just a certificate that says they passed some tests. Just so, and it's not really like mandated by the federal government, but it's one of those things like, hey, industry says this is what you should have. So it's usually a good sign to have that. And so a lot of education with the user, making sure they understand what entails a good company, and answering every question they may have to the fullest extent. And the other side of that, when I don't have the answer, I don't have the answer, right? Like I'm a no pressure sales kind of guy, right? Like, I believe good work will sell itself. Maybe that comes from cars, which is, growing up with my dad, it's always been, there is more than enough work out here that everybody can do enough and get their fair share that you don't have to put people off, right?
Yeah.
Especially with that, automotive kind of gets sometimes that like banker type mentality, which is like, oh, they're always trying to upsell you, or they're always just, patting the books. And I totally get where that comes from, but like, you don't have to do that. Like there's the amount of what you get $1 to fix cars nowadays is insane. And the talent to do it is that it's the lowest that no one knows how, even 20 years ago, most people can do an oil change on their car. 30 years ago, 40 years ago, right? That's not today, right? And that's which is a good thing for society, right? Because he's like, why would you want a good change oil? But from a business perspective, I just see there's no reason why I have to do that, right? There's money to be made. Everybody can get a share. But yeah.
Well, let's stick with this topic. I think that's an interesting follow-up, because Hauling Buddies is not the only thing you've built. You started WrenchRadar, right, which is a very, very interesting thing as well, because yet again, you built something marketplace-like, which is, it feels to me like you're playing SaaS entrepreneur on hard mode all the time, because you're picking these marketplace things. But I find this the most interesting project as of late, although we'll get into the more creative project later, because it kind of combines your old self, like the auto tech, right, with your experience as a SaaS entrepreneur, which is great. I love this, like that things kind of split up and then they come back together. I really like that. So how did that happen? Because I feel that the similarity between Hauling Buddies and this is that there's a lot of certification and a lot of guaranteeing trust there, right? So how did WrenchRadar come up as an option to build a business for?
So we'll full circle it even more. So when there's moments of Hauling Buddies where it's like, I just don't know, right? Not that, and again, we're not talking about like crises or laying at night, waking up. We're not talking about that. We're talking about when you're there's this feeling. People will know what I'm talking about, and immediately my mind starts going, okay, what's next? If this is not where it is anymore, which is not necessarily a bad thing. What's next, right? Because so. What do you know? Well, you know automotive, and you know automotive well. And and you have a support family that knows automotive. So it just seemed like a natural progression. And again, if you watch all the talks about how to start a company and read the books and stuff, and that's one thing they tell you is, make a product you use yourself or something that's a passion, it's that kind of stuff. So it's going down those mental checks, right? It works out. And then, so again, start playing, right? Building. What would this look like? And of course, you have your first iterations over before you even want to call it a proof of concept, right? Of redoing stuff and playing at it. The original thing was an AI type response, and doing some digging through APIs and stuff. Well, again, the biggest problem, the AI is great. First of all, I love it. It's a fan. I understand it's not as zero sum fix all. Like, it has a long way to go. But as far as like an assistant or even like talking like this with it is great. It for someone like me where my mind does run, it organizes all that so beautifully. Like I can just talk or write or type, and it doesn't care about how I mess it up or if it's in the right words or not. It doesn't care about any of that. It knows what I'm doing. So I love it for that. But anyway, going through that. So then how do I get the data from the OEMs, right? That's and of course you have like the chat PDF thing. So if I download all the OEM, manuals, I can convert that and I can, and going through all that. And I actually reached out to CarMD. They have an API. We talked back and forth about doing something, and the problem with their API is it's not really repair data. It's more just like maintenance and oil changes, which is cool for like a basic level app. For what I'm talking about, for like especially because you have your B2C side of this, right, which is like your DIYers and stuff, and then you also have your B2B, which is like your other techs that need help, right, and especially harping back to that not enough talent in the industry solution. So moving forward with that, it wasn't going to work. So I've been in talk with Motor, which is like industry god when it comes to like diagonal labor times, that kind of stuff. But they don't have any kind of indie hacker, beta type. Give me some free credit so I can do some stuff. Set up. So that's kind of where it's like, okay, so how now we're into. You hit the wall, right? And we've talked about this before. So how do we get around the wall? And that's when it comes into like the marketing. We're like, we'll just talk to a tech. Yeah, we'll throw a thing on here. It's going to cost this. You're going to get this cut, and then we'll go from there. We'll have AI involved. So like you can just talk how you're going to talk, and we'll have it nice and formatted back to the customer and stuff. Pulling in some check engine like codes and stuff like that. But we came to that idea as again, just what's next? I was playing with AI. How can I? What can I do with that? What looks fun? That's the project that taught me how to use function calling and how to feed it back into itself for a chain, and chat and stuff like that, and then also how to do some embedding so you can do because you don't want to pull all your old mess in history in, right? So like you only want to pull in relevant information so you can do nearest neighbor type stuff. So I learned all that on that project, and that I'm at the point of I need access to OEM data, and of course that's behind a very expensive paywall. But anyway, I digress. That's kind of how we got there.
Well, how are you going to deal with that? I would like to know.
So OpenAI history is getting better. It's getting more up to date. I'm actually emailing a contact I have at Motor back and forth, trying to do the whole, listen, man, it's just me, but I have a really cool idea. And CarMD, by the way, just give them a shout out. Totally cool with it. Send me a bunch of free credits. Like they emailed me 3 or 4 times after the fact, like, hey, what's going on? We haven't heard anybody trying to use AI with this yet. We're really interested. And it's just, their data set's just not what I needed. But kudos for trying to help out the little guy. Like that was cool.
That's really cool.
And again, I no hate on Motor either. I totally get the business behind it, right? That is money. And I'll say I'm working on it. Mm-hmm. It's not over. I'm working on it.
Well, yeah, that's just work in progress, right? That's like
Right,
you have a challenge and you're having you're experimenting with how you can get through it. I really like the idea, and I like the idea of techs helping techs. That's just really nice in a world where there's fewer and fewer of qualified people. The ones that are qualified, certified, of course, they can help other people, right? That's good. It's just teaching, right? It's teaching and instructing, and those other people will get better in the process. And if AI can help facilitate that, awesome.
So I'll give you a little more background on this, on why I think this. So there's a couple of different ways you model shops, and it depends on what kind of shop you are, whether you're like a Midas or like a Jiffy Lube or something, or independent, like a gas station or a dealership. So let's stick with the dealership model in this case. And in that sense, you don't have, generally you have a bunch of like, we'll say lower level, C-level technicians, one or two Bs, and then you have one, A level that oversees the whole team. And it used to be smaller teams, but because it costs a lot of money to hire an A tech anymore, we've grown the teams and we've reduced the workload of our master techs. So now our master techs reduced to the simple of go help with these guys out when they have a problem, and here's a headache car, deal with this. Which is to make A level techs are still making stupid amount of money, so I'm sure they're not complaining whatsoever. But I don't want to say stupid amount. Kudos for them. Go get it. Like, I'm all for it. So, but it also means technology will fill that gap eventually. So let's back up there. So, and their model. So this is, and there's also another side of this where like a lot of cars require flash programming, reprogramming. Even like in a BMW, Mercedes, the dome light, if you want to replace, not the light bulb, but like you have to replace the whole thing, that has to be reprogrammed to the car or it won't work. And it's an anti-theft thing, I get it. But the software to do that, you can only get from Mercedes, and it's, $12,000 for the system. So what's popping up a lot now is these, I think Scanner Dan was one of them here locally, and it's basically just a team of guys in trucks with scanners, all the OEM factor scanner stuff, scanner stuff, and just shop to shop, reprogram or reflashing, whatever. Because it's only going to get worse. Well, not worse, I guess better, but a good 45% of car repairs today are software updates. Yeah. Like, wow. Which is funny because from us, right? Like we software, I'm always updated, right? Like it makes sure we're good. And you think of a car, you don't think of it, even for me, it's still hard. Like, oh, wait a minute, I just updated software that it's not making that noise anymore. Like that doesn't, because it's a physical to software. It's that integration level where it's still like it's just hard to wrap your mind around sometimes. But it's all equal on. That B2B is a big gap that can be filled for sure.
That sounds like little car update mercenaries just roaming from shop to shop. That's I had some trouble with our car recently. It's a BMW with trouble. Like it's one of those really stupid, non even functional problems. Like I was listening to this podcast on the car system, and it didn't show like the actual title, or not the title, but my name in the episode. There was just an undefined artist. And I was talking to the people at Transistor where I'm hosting this podcast, and they were looking into it, and they told me, I need to update the operating system or the system of my car for that bug to be fixed. And I was like, I wish I could. That was my feeling at that point. And now knowing that not even each dealership or each shop can do this, that you have to have specific people with specific tools or software for this. Of course you need people that help other people to get this stuff done. So that's a very interesting development. Do you think in the future this is going to be more available, or is it going to be less available? Or is Mercedes going to give fewer people that option or more?
So, okay. So this is kind of like the argument of right to repair, right? Mm-hmm. So it kind of touches on that. So
yeah, for sure.
Most dealerships will be able to reprogram a flash like that. This is for like your independent shops. 5, 6, 7, 8 bays where so every brand has its own scanner, right? Or it's and each one is, we'll say anywhere from $6,000 to $12,000 depending on, and that's just to buy it. And then you have a yearly subscription of anywhere from like $12 to $3,000 just to be able to download the updates from Ford to use their scanner And there are aftermarket like JBox and Snap-on can do some, but it's very limited because the federal government doesn't require manufacturers to release that only emissions data. So engines and trains emissions related data. So they have to release that by law. But your headlight, your radio, none of that has to be released. So the company, so Snap-on or Autel or any of these companies, they either have to reverse engineer it or they have to buy licensing for it. And now that, this is why these scanners are $78,000. And so there's two sides. One, in the automotive world, right? This might be like a controversial statement. I feel as an mostly independent in my whole career has been independent automotive shops. I feel every time the dealership for the manufacturer, change tooling is almost just to keep the independent shops out of the car, right?
Okay.
We've already done it to consumers. No person on this planet is going to spend $12,000 on a Zeus Snap-on scanner to go scope their car for an O2 sensor. Like no one's going to do that, right? So we've already priced out and technologied out the consumer. Like it's not going to happen. To put an alternator or a battery in your BMW, you have to plug it in the car and tell it you did it, because if you didn't, it's going to overcharge the new battery and destroy it. So it's not acceptable. So what the struggle now is, your independent shops are getting priced out of it. And then, your GM just came out with a new scanner that's not compatible with the old scanner. It's like, what? So you either have to buy both of them or you could trade your another one in, but now you just paid $8,000. I'm running on a tangent here, but
I kind of like it, that the whole right to repair thing that exists in so many places, right? Yeah, that seems like a tough problem. Do you think this is going to be resolved?
There's no incentive for it to be solved. And an idea of the dealerships have the technology anyway. They want to keep the work. The consumer is already paying $200 an hour. It doesn't matter if they couldn't. The consumer, because the independent shops so Northern Virginia, we'll take where I live, for example. Every bridge you go north, because I live on the 95 corridor, so you're going towards DC, your labor rate jumps by like $50 to $60, right? So like in my area, it's $120 an hour labor rate. Northern Virginia, like tier 10, like it's ridiculous. And we're talking like independent shops, right? So you're paying the same thing whether you go to a dealership or you go into the independent shop. So the customer don't care anymore. They just want the job done, right? Now you have the whole, how long did it take? Professional quality, take that out of that equation. So now as an independent shop, I'm going to be eating my profit margin to buy those scan tools to be able to do that. And unless you're doing a good amount of them, it's not worth to invest in the equipment. So that's why these companies are popping up that do just scans. They just run around from one place, because unless you're doing 10, 20 scans a week, you're not making your money back on it. And so I think there's going to be more opportunity for advanced diagnostics and flash reprogramming, which is a lot of guides are getting good enough to where it's like, hey, this is your symptoms, do this, and you'll come with your answer. We've engineered a car so well that, we can pretty much pinpoint where problems are by sensors nowadays. I mean, there are your crazy ones, right? But that's where I'm getting to, which is like, this car I've seen, or this model of car, times 100,000, driven over 10 million miles, they have a good data set of failures, right? So what really gets people caught nowadays is, so for example, I have a 2013 Dodge Charger Pursuit, it's an old cop car, in my driveway right now, do my checks, going through it. I can almost guarantee you I have a wire cut in my dash, only because when they ripped all the lights and sirens and stuff out, you can see where they cut all the wires. But yeah, the process of, do I have power and grab here, you just follow the daisy chain down. But now once you've got through all datas, check all these points, most techs are like, I don't know. Well, now this is where because I'm can do what I can do. I'll be able to go wire by wire, find the harness, find where it is, trace it back, and I'll get it. But no one wants to do that. That's that advanced. You gotta. It's almost like coding, right? You gotta have that drive and that passion to be able to sit underneath the hood of the car for hours at a time, looking at little colored wires, and problem solving. What makes my dad so good at this, and I've told him a million times, is, and he'd probably be really good at computers if he learned it, but he finds joy in solving the problems that no one else can solve, right? So like when the dealerships because I've seen this, bring him a car to an independent shop because they're out of options. The grin on his face when he figures it out is insane. And he loves learning new technology. He went to a couple schools in New Hampshire for EVs, like Teslas and 480s and Hondas and stuff. He's always up on the latest stuff. So let me back up a little bit. Yeah, I think there's going to be a bigger market only because the shops are going to realize they can't afford to stay up with technology the cars are coming out with, even more so as it becomes more. It's not affordable as an independent shop. It's not. And back in the day, it was just, who's going to do the work for less, right? It's just work. Now you got to be halfway intelligent. you got it. There's so many things wrapped up. Thermodynamics, electricity, programming, wrapped up into this package that if you don't study it, you're gonna be out of it.
Well, I guess there was a saying once where it's not rocket science, but it's turning into rocket science, right?
It absolutely is.
Okay, and then, let's do the best possible pivot at this point, because we're already talking about rockets, right?
Yeah.
I really want to talk to you about this in this conversation still, because you've done something that is completely outside of the field of automotive or animal transportation, and it has to do with rockets, at least a little. It has to do with astrophysics, I guess, in a certain way. Tell me about your book that you wrote, because that is so weirdly not what you've just talked about for almost an hour here.
So this is one of those scenarios where it's like it kind of just fell together. Okay, so this would be a good learning point. A few weeks ago, whatever it was, a friend of mine that owns a printing company wants to update his tech, right? He's just, that'd be a whole podcast on its own. But so one thing I like doing, especially goes back to like learning, understanding, and like optimizing, is let's go through something, let's build something, how does this process work? But also let's not waste the opportunity kind of deal. So I've had Max and Sparky's Galactic Journey on a back burner for a little while. And I was like, hey man, I got this book, right? And you use AI to do some help and do some images and all this, and then the graphics designer there, like, how do I set up this book in a PDF? Like, how do we do our margins and guides? So I got to learn. It was a really cool experience. I got to learn how his process works by building something for me. At the same time, it wasn't a project where I was trying to make money and all like that. So, how can I, turn this into something that's useful? And my son Noah is a very smart young boy. He loves astronauts. He loves space. He has been telling me all the planets since he's 3 years old. He's just he's just all about space. He's going to go play football for college. So he can go to college for free. And then while he's there, he wants to be a marine biologist. And then so he's going to play football to go to school for free. He's going to make money. So after he's done school, he can go travel the world and swim and fish and stuff. But in between there somewhere, he's going to be in NASA too.
Sure.
As I said, hey buddy, I don't think there's a lot of water in space. I said, I know we're looking for it. But anyway, so kind of morphed into this thing like, hey, he's old enough for space camp this year. I told him we're going to go to space camp. Spoiler alert, whether we sell 100 books or not, he's going to space camp. But again, there's one of those things. What can I do to learn something so I can learn this business? And two birds, one stone kind of deal. And it's just a simple Ruby book. It's not. I'm not out here, like I said. I'm not some great professor or teacher. I'm not here to proclaim anything like that. It's just a cool little story about traveling through space and a journey and how to use Ruby throughout that journey and teaching about variables and classes and modules and all that kind of stuff. It's a cool little book. It's fun putting it together. Like I said, it wasn't some grand plan. I'm an author now. Like, that's all in play. Again, it was more of something I could use to learn how this guy runs the business so I can build something for him. But I really like the passion and drive behind it. I showed Noah, I actually have some pictures of him, and I was going through with it. And the cool part about that, also not to go to waste, is so on learnrubyinOrbit.com, which is the website for the book, there's a Planet Blue Class Builder, which in chapter 8 of the book, it teaches about classes. And basically, you get to write your own class in Ruby, and you describe your planet in Ruby code. And then we use AI, or DALL-E in this case, to generate what that planet would look like.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's really fun. So it was a surprise for Noah in this book. I wanted to wait till I actually had one in my hand. And so all my other kids, though, I got to sit down with them and play with them. We were going through it. I mean, it was a good 4 or 5 hours one day of all of us just sitting down generating different planets. And then, of course, the learning part about it is like, well, what kind of different planets are they? Because once you run through, you're all red and green and blue. It's like, well, you know what an atmosphere is? So we got to walk through what atmosphere is, and you know what rings are. And if you, like I said, if you go to the website, there's a bunch of public ones on there we did as a family. You'll see them. They're pretty cool. Cool part about it is allowed from the tech side of it is like we're not compiling any code or not running. You have to worry about anybody running anything crazy. Basically, we use AI to generate a summary of the Ruby code of what that would look like, and then we take that and we prompt that to DALL-E, and then it generates the image. So it's a fun little experiment to go along with the book. And then the book was a project to learn someone else's business. But again, awesome. the story behind it all is, and then even that said, if the book sells or whatever, I think we sold 30 copies of 100. So like, listen, that's a win in my book. Figuring out how to do the ISBN number and the copyright and all that. That was a process. That was cool. Sure. Learning the difference between like print and ebook, and then like having to send it in and all that. So it was all a learning experience. But again, I wasn't trying to make a business out of it. So the money goes to Noah to go space camp. Anything above and beyond that, we'll do to some other little project or some other go to space camp or something. But that's one of those still good things. That's like,
for sure,
this is pretty cool.
I really love it. I think I did not expect it, but once I saw it, it was like, yeah, that's so you. Like the fact that you would just to try and figure out somebody else's business, you would do a project like that is both. It's both for them and for your son. Like it's so much for other people. I love this about you. Like you're sharing that the building in public you do and the projects that you're building, they're connecting people, they're sharing knowledge. All of this is really evident in everything you do. And I just from the bottom of my heart, as somebody who likes doing this and likes watching this, thanks so much for this,
thank you.
For sharing it, for doing it, and for teaching people along the way. And I bet you'll sell a couple more than just 30 books of this, because the idea is adorable, like the execution is great, and the thoughts that you put into this, the reason why it exists, man, I'm gonna buy one. I'll tell you that. And
the next part of this is, so I want to full circle here. So I started playing with the idea of how to embed a repo so you can ask questions with AI, right? And it works out great. It's awesome. But that led me to another idea, which is if I put the book as a repo, right? And allow other open sources so other people can update the book and then build this really cool open source kids book, right?
Yeah.
But then we can train AI on that repo, and then kids can have a little chat buddy. They can actually ask questions about Ruby, right?
Awesome.
So again, the mind never stops going. But I appreciate it. Thank you for that. That's cool. It's always fun. I enjoy this, right? Like if there's a way to monetize this, that's cool, but not at a cost of either you or I, right? In the sense of like, I just like hanging out and talking and being nerdy and doing geek stuff and whatever it is, and if you can benefit out of that, by all means, then I'm here for it.
I love to hear this. And it's so cool to see you just jumping around from idea to idea and implementing that the thread of AI is like all through your projects, and every single one you make use of it in a different, interesting way. Super cool. So I'm already excited to see what's happening in the future. And I bet other people are too. If people want to follow you and want to see what you have to offer, what you work on, where should they go?
Yeah, so on Twitter is probably the easiest. That's like I said, I do build in public. It's my buddy Andrew at my buddy Andrew. Again, full disclaimer, I don't use Twitter in the normal sense of everybody else. Like you said, I'm all over the place. I'm personal. Sometimes, it's good, sometimes it's bad. But yeah, Twitter being the easiest place. Learn rubyindorbit.com is for the book and for Noah and stuff like that. And then of course, Hauling Buddies is always not going anywhere. I don't think that's ever going to go anywhere. I need to do that. Again, Twitter's the easiest place. That's a fun place.
Well, I really enjoy what you're doing there, and I bet other people do as well. So thank you so much for sharing the journey and all your dreams and all your cool projects with me today. It was really, really insightful. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Of course. And that's it for today. I will now briefly thank my sponsor, Acquire.com. Imagine this. You're a founder who's built a solid SaaS product. You acquired customers, and everything is generating really consistent monthly recurring revenue. You're living the SaaS dream, right? The problem is you're not growing. For whatever reason, maybe it's lack of skill, lack of focus, or just plain lack of interest, and you feel stuck in your business, with your business. What should you do? Well, the story that the community would really like to hear at this point is you buckled down, reignited the fire, you started working on the business, not just in the business, and all those things like audience building and marketing and sales and outreach is something that you do. And 6 months down the road, you've made all the money. You've tripled your revenue. You have this hyper successful business. But reality is unfortunately not as simple as this. And the situation that you might be in is different for every founder facing this crossroad. Too many times, the story here ends up being one of inaction and stagnation until the business itself becomes less and less valuable over time, right? Or at worst, completely worthless. So if you find yourself here already, or you think that your story is likely headed down a similar road, I would consider a third option at this point. And that is selling your business. On Acquire.com, you capitalizing on the value of your time today is a pretty smart move, right? Your days are valuable, and you can sell the products that you build. Acquire.com is free to list. They've helped hundreds of founders already. So just to check it out, go to try.acquire.com/Arvid and see for yourself if this is the right option for you at this point for your business. Thank you so much for listening to The Bootstrap Founder today. You can find me on Twitter at ArvidKahl, ARVIDKAHL, I think. And you find my books there, my Twitter course there too. If you want to support me and this show, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, get the podcast in your podcast player of choice, and leave a rating and a review by going to ratethispodcast.com/founder. It makes a massive difference if you show up there, because then this will show up in other people's feeds, and that's where I would love it to be. Any of this will help the show. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful day, and bye-bye.